Alright, I'm going to do my best to keep this short and sweet. This is my build after the first weekend. This bad boy is colored wrong because I was expecting a 5-link, not a 6-link. I colored the 4 reds, doing the fun little technique where you re-socket it. Go to 2-socket to 3-socket, 3-socket to 4-socket until you get your reds. And I wanted a green and a blue, but this is a blue-green base. So I was at 4 sockets here, and I had just enough to 6-socket it, which I think was 350 fusings. So I hit this with the 6-socket. I got 2 blues instead of a green and a blue. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to 6-link. I'm going to 5-link it, and then I'm just going to use it. So I held the button down to do the 5-link thing, and it accidentally hit 6-link. And so now I have an improperly colored 6-link, and that makes me use elemental focus support, which means I don't freeze, I don't chill, and I don't ignite because I am doing primarily fire and cold. Almost a perfect split, which is great for the Trinity. Anyways, that's that. I got this bad boy, 10 chaos for a +1 to maximum frenzy charges like 2 days ago. So I got that bad boy super cheap. It doesn't have a perfect roll on the elemental damage, but when it does, it will be pretty good. Now I have 11 charges, which is going to be 77% increased physical damage and 77% increased elemental damage total once I get that correct move. Right now it's 55% increased elemental, 77% increased physical. This belt's pretty good because when I get cooking, my defenses are supreme. Right now, my armor is jack diddly. My evasion's okay, but my armor is basically nothing. But as I get cooking, with my Nebuloch, getting 500 armor per endurance charge with 11 endurance charges adds a pretty fat stack of armor. And this take 200 fire damage per second per endurance charge if you've been hit recently is basically non-existent, because I also regenerate 75 life per second with endurance charges, and 11 endurance charges puts this into the 800 mark. And then I have a nice little 21% increased life regeneration rate, which turns that 800 to somewhere around 1,000, which is really nice. Now, I am also rocking Vitality, which gives me another 200 life regeneration, which then gets bonused by this increased life regeneration rate. And one of the things I have is a lot of flat life regeneration. Now, why is flat life regeneration important for this build? Because I have low life. And by low life, I don't just mean I am at low life. I only have 3,400 life. So if this was something like 10% life regeneration per second, that would only be 340 life per second. And that is not that much. So this flat life is very good for being low life and low life. Low life, and energy shield is a really nice combo. That 959 energy shield, while not a lot, does make me very, very defensive. So let's just run a map. I've yipped, I've yapped, and now it's run the map. Let's see, 46% more life on monsters, and that's the only one. You just need to remember they have more life. I like Shockwave with this build a lot. I think Shockwave is very nicely played with this build. I don't like the lame damage that I got with Nebuloch, but if you see, I'll just do one swing, and you get all that Cyclone out of just one swing. One swing, boom. Okay, that was bad timing, boom. Okay, usually get more booms than that, but we'll swing a bunch more. You can see the damage is pretty gimped out. Of course, I'm not quite at full frenzy charges. I let my frenzy charges come from kill, but if I start to run low, I have frenzy right here on W that I can punch onto people. But for the most part, I just let my frenzy charges generate naturally, and they're at like a 50-second timer. 50 seconds of endurance charges is pretty nice. Okay, we have immunity to cold, immunity to physical. I have both physical in my Shockwave, and half of my damage is cold, and I'm just gonna pop it right here. I don't even care. I will take those immunities, and I will beat these guys anyways. So let's hit this, let's grab this, let's go hide over here, and let's have a good time. We just hide over here, and it's shockwaving, it's snaking, all up in there. I don't really gotta do much. I just hang out in the safety zone, and I slam the ground, and I let the shockwave, I let the snake handle everything. And my damage is low, but my survivability is high. My speed is high. I am high. Everything is high except for my damage. My damage, it feels like between 400 and 800,000 damage, and I'm leaning towards 500,000. I don't really know how to calculate the damage with the Snaky, because the Snaky is hitting 3 times, I believe. Slam the ground, creating winding fissures that deal damage while traveling outward. It reaches its target location, it erupts, dealing damage in an area. After erupting, the fissure continues moving towards enemies to cause further eruptions. Requires specific item types. There are 3 additional eruptions. Does that mean that there's 1 eruption for base, 3 additional, meaning that there's 4 eruptions, or does this mean 3 eruptions? This is why I haven't even attempted to calculate the damage inside of POB. I'm just running off of feel. So I mostly play builds under the 10 million damage range. Rarely do I get a build above 10 million damage. I don't really like to play above 10 million damage because it kind of just turns off the game's difficulty and you just run in and instantly kill everything. And then it becomes a loot simulator, and I'm not real big on the loot simulator life. That is not for me. So let's show some of these numbers that I have. And these are going to be just lame, not POB numbers. These are going to be in-game numbers, so they're not accurate, and they shouldn't be trusted as much. But let me punch someone with some frenzy charges. Let me get some frenzy charges. Let's take a look at some defenses as I'm running through. So 70,000 armor, 53,000 evasion. And with the potions up. Potions down. Let's wait for the potions to run out. We're 25,000 armor, 38,000 evasion. That is pretty good evasion. I started with Bringer of Rain, but Bringer of Rain obviously is just my starter. I typically run Bringer of Rain from tier 1 to about this league. I made it to tier 13 before I got my 6th link, which is this body armor, which I wasn't planning, but this dropped for me right here, and it has a really high endurance charge, 98% increased duration on there. And the life, I think 75 is not too bad. Yeah, it's only 5 away from perfect, and evasion and energy shield is really high. So this was a really well rolled chess piece, and it just dropped. So I figured I would use that, get my base types red, and go. You see, I was going to run out of frenzy charges, but I accidentally got one from killing someone. So it's a little difficult to see the damage, but let's get close to these bosses. I get triple bosses. I don't really die. My defenses are excellent. Chaos resistance needs a little love, but beyond that, I am pretty yoked. I need a little spell suppression. I'm at 66%, and every now and then I could see a spell go through that doesn't get suppressed. Now I have lucky spell suppression, but 266 hits of lucky spell suppression, you are gonna get misses from time to time. I probably need to be about 75% spell suppression, and I might just get that right here. I might just path in. There's another 8% right there. It might be great to just grab that node, or I can finish out these two and get another 10 here and then get rid of this dex node. Boom, boom, dex, one more level. I got it there. But anyways, pretty defensively solid, but offensively it's not that great. This is not going to be able to cover my T17 maps at all, and I'm not exactly sure my plan as to where to go from now. I think I'll just get rid of the Nebuloch, and I'm gonna go for a beefy two-hander, or maybe even switch to bows and you do a bow frenzy build. I don't actually 100% know on what I'm gonna be doing here, but a bow frenzy build could be pretty rad. Could be excellent. But I can't handle a lot of movement speed, so I'm not running Flask. I'm not running a movement speed Flask. I accidentally turned off my war cry. My war cry is only there for bosses to keep my endurance charges. Ooh, a boss. This will be a perfect demonstration of how I don't have a lot of damage on this build. Now I really like Shockwave with it, But at the end game, I don't think Shockwave is going to be the best skill for it, because eventually I could probably get Awaken Multi-Strike, and obviously Multi-Strike and Shockwave don't go that well together. So once I get an Awaken Multi-Strike, which I'll probably just hard find because I'm doing Destructive Play and just alt-going, I get a ton of Awaken Gems when I do this. But eventually I'll get Awaken Multi-Strike. When I get Awaken Multi-Strike and Awaken Elemental damage, Shockwave is probably no longer going to be that beneficial. But I just really like Shockwave with this, because the Shockwaves are just constantly going, and they can off-screen and just do these giant circular explosions. Now the damage is low, as I said, but I don't need to move. I don't need to think. I could turn off my brain. Obviously, I can't turn off my brain and do the new League mechanic, because that is all brain power and no monsters. So I'm not doing League mechanic, because why would I? Why would I go in there and waste all of my fucking time to not fight monsters? I play this game to fight monsters and have those monsters give me loot. Without the monsters, to me, this is not a game. So they built a non-game function in the game. Now, I haven't seen other people's takes that much, but I imagine they're all feeling about the same. Synthesis League was also pretty complex, but when you were done building your little synthesis maps, guess what? You gotta go on the map, and you gotta fight enemies, which was fun. Harvest, I thought, was a great league. I loved building the Harvest design. I spent so much time designing it, making it cool, but there's none of that in the Graveyard. To me, the core mechanic is a complete dud. It will provide nothing to this game in the long run. At least it shouldn't, because crafting in that manner takes so damn long. Even if you know how to do it, setting the bodies in, I mean, they created a chore simulator. That's what they just did. So maybe if you like playing The Sims, or you're really into the mechanics of crafting, I only craft in this game to get the items I need to kill monsters. I don't enjoy crafting. I don't like crafting. And in fact, if I can buy it instead of crafting it, I will always prefer to buy an item versus crafting an item. All right. So you saw a little bit of the tankiness. You saw a little bit of the play. And now I think I'm just going to do a silent map where I just run a few maps and I don't talk. I think I'll put some Streets of Rage 2 on. Let's pick a couple maps here. Let's do a bog. Oh, that's corrupted. Let's Arachnid Nest. Are you any good? I don't know what maps I like yet. Ooh, Tropical Island's excellent. Tropical Island, Monster Life. That's fine. Let's pump it up. Arachnid Nest. That is a mod I cannot... Ooh, damn. Look at this. A cast speed and life. This is literally the best breach ring I've ever seen. My dream is to get 2 really good breach rings and do nothing but breach content and just watch my totals double. Look at that cold damage. If only that was tier 1, then you got that tier 1 cast speed. You could do yourself a cold build in a breach. Imagine that. If we got 30% increased attack speed, 30% increased cold damage, 150 life. This is close. It's not quite there, so I'm going to throw that right there on the trash. It's close, but it's not there. Now, I can't do steel charges. I can, but it's just a bad time, right? Most of my damage comes from there. Also can't really do Reflect Fizz with Shockwave. I can do that one, but don't want to. And this one's excellent. Now, on this one, I am mostly going to stop talking. I don't need to run Streets of Rage music. I'll just let the regular music play, let you hear the ground smacking, and I'm going to try to stop talking so you can just enjoy the build. I really wish you could just open all of them up. Or get a mod where they're just all open by default. You just go and you don't have to click anything. You just go into the harvest, and it's just a fucking smorgasbord of enemies. That's how I would like harvest. None of this clicking stuff. You just walk in there, and it's pure danger zone. Like, no longer give you an option of which one to pick. They just auto select the best one with the highest rarity, the best crops, and you walk in, and as soon as you step your foot in this thing, everything is out to get you. Everything is attacking you. You are having a bad time as soon as you enter, which is a good time. They really ought to just hire me to make this game the maximum amount of fun. I remove all the unfun shit in this game. Like key binding your skills to left click when you can just automate them. I think the automation is great. Anything we lost on left click is outshined by the fact that we can literally automate fucking war cries right now. Any build can have an automated war cry. You don't gotta select that node down at the bottom. It's spectacular. And that's my way to get endurance charges. So that's all I have to do. Because whenever you're fighting a boss with 50 seconds of endurance charge time, I don't think I actually am going to drop between phasing on, like, Sirius. When Sirius phases between his things, typically I would drop charges. I don't think I'm going to drop charges. I'll probably drop Trow, but I won't drop charges with that much charge time, which is excellent. A lot of quality of life. The worst part about a charge build is not having charges, and being able to generate them at all times is really nice. You'll see the damage problem creeping in here because I don't have enough damage while Blight is going. Not Blight. Delirium. While Delirium's going, I don't have enough damage to kill that boss. Still get some splinters for it, but damage is the problem. And in order to get damage, I do believe I am going to have to reduce my defenses by getting rid of my Nebuloch, which is probably the weak link in terms of my damage. Very low attack speed, and the benefits for having endurance charges are mostly defensive. Now, Nebuloch is not that popular of an item anymore, but being ultra tanky with low ZDPS was pretty popular back in the day. So back in the day, the Nebuloch was pretty popular. But if you haven't seen the Nebuloch in action, I will open it up right now. This is what you get. Reduce elemental damage taken from hits, added fizz damage, added armor with the downside of physical damage taken per second. Oh, and chaos resistance per endurance charge. So I have 11 endurance charges, so all of that is actually pretty fucking jacked. That is all really good stats. It's not perfectly rolled because I need 40% physical damage as added fire damage, but, you know, it's good enough for now. And ideally, I'm going to be getting chance to gain endurance charge on hit. Not endurance charge. Chance to gain fortify on hit. Because if we look at my fortification, which should be up here, I should be getting fortified somewhere. Because when I stun things, I get fortification. Oh no, I don't have that item on there somewhere. I'm missing an item. Endurance charge on melee stun. Oh no, I have it. This map mod must have... Yep, monsters can't be stunned. When I stun a monster, I get my fortification. And my fortification is at 30 right now? 31? It's either 30 or 31, which is a ton of fortify. That is a ton of fun for fortifying. So right now I'm just fighting 3 bosses, and it's no big deal. I'm not gonna die. They're not gonna kill me. They don't have a shot of winning, but it will take a couple extra seconds, right? Low damage, high defenses. Alright, I gotta do one more map just so I can show the awesome stack of endurance charges. And by endurance, I do mean fortification. Now, I don't even have this node allocated. I don't even know what I'm grabbing. I think I'm grabbing this one up here for elemental penetration, accuracy, and elemental damage with mazes. Actually, it's kind of nice. That's a really good node. Super inexpensive. A red and then 2 of the cheapest ones. So I just popped that on there. But I probably, at some point, will switch it to this. Maybe. Because this will give me 3 fortification, but on top of that, I get some life regeneration, which isn't that great because of my low life. But it will be pretty rad. Now, when I play this game, we'll be seeing my belt choice come into play here. Perseverance. 1% increased damage per 200 of the lowest armor and evasion. My lowest is armor with 37,000 when my flasks are up. You can do the math on that. It's a pretty good amount of attack damage added based on that. Melee hits which stun also fortify. You have onslaught while fortified. So my melee hits will be stunning regular enemies, not bosses, but they will stun regular enemies. And you'll see my fortify is now at 31 while mapping. So for the most part, I will always be at 31 fortify while mapping, which makes me even more tanky. Now the downside of this tankiness is dot damage. Damage over time is a bit rough with my low life, but if we take a look at my life regeneration, which is it would boost it up to 36,000 for some reason. Maybe I was on concentrated effect. But right now it's about 12,650. That's what I'm sitting at regen. Every now and then it pops way up. Maybe I'm leeching. 36,000. I don't know why it's popping up that high. I don't have that answer. I can look into it, but I don't care. I'm tanky. I am thick. I got regen, and I don't quit. In terms of damage, I mean, obviously I can't brag about the damage. You can see the damage is not great, but the damage is passable. This is a T16 after just 1 weekend to play, and I'm clearing just fine. I am clearing just fine. I'm getting my schisms. Okay, I'm not getting this schism. I don't really know what the schism is. It's just a little faster to use while mapping, in my opinion. You don't have to, it just kind of pops open, and you can get it to pop open a little quicker. But I don't know in terms of loot if it's better. I always prefer to prioritize fun over currency or loot, and it's more fun to have the schism. One, you get something to look at, right? It's saying, oh, you're doing the schism thing. This helmet right here is shockingly good. 20% increased damage while on low life, and a bucket of chaos. And I just got a max rolled chaos one. This is a good roll. So I'm going to see if I can get something special with that. I really like this helmet. It's kind of crept up on me for being a really good helmet. What's that? All attributes? How low is that? 12 out of 15? It's not perfect. It's super inexpensive, even for a perfect roll. That is making it onto my really underrated starter items. Assuming you have the defenses. Oh no, I dropped my frenzy charges. You have the defenses to make that work, right? Because you don't need the life. So if you're a hybrid build or an ES only build and you need chaos resistance, and not having life on your helmet isn't going to be a deal breaker, and you also don't need the mods from red and blue buff. I always forget what people call those. As long as you don't need any of that, you're good to go. Alright, we're going to want to get those frenzy charges up. But the paper DPS is 291,000 with shockwaves going. It's really not that great. Or it is great. I have no clue. But playing around, it definitely doesn't feel like more than 1 million. It's not feeling like more than 1 million damage. So I think it is somewhere between 400 and 800,000. I could be wrong. I'm not going to go through POB to try to figure out that number, because I don't really know how many times my snaky is exploding. So I'm just going to go off of gut feeling. Gut feeling, this is sub 1 mil, but the defenses kind of makes up for it. Quality of life with these defenses, the movement speed, and all that jazz is really high. Really high quality of life. Now there is a new glove that I plan on upgrading to, which is going to give me a ton of attack speed. It's going to give me attack speed equal to my fortification, which right now it's 31, but I'll be getting at least 8 on those gloves. So I'll probably be at 40 fortification, which would give me 40% increased attack speed on those gloves, which is probably better than the additional damage provided here, as long as I can get it corrupted with a frenzy charge. But those gloves so far are proving to be pretty rare Even though I don't think anyone is using those gloves, because, I mean, it's melee, right? Who even has fortification on melee? Most people don't even do fortify anymore. So I don't really think those gloves are going to be used by anyone anytime soon. So it's just a matter of the gloves hitting the market. When the gloves hit the market, then I'll be able to put them on and hopefully get a little bit more damage. But at that point, I will be taking off Shockwave, which I really like. I think Shockwave just makes this build look excellent. It's just doing explosions all over the place where I just hold in one spot and ground pound. Pound that ground. And I'm not even putting curses on or nothing. I do have punishment as my curse. But for the most part, I don't even use it. I don't even need it. I don't even use it. Alright, let's take a look at the cost of that gloves that I was talking about. POE trade, and it's something celestial brace Goliath gauntlets, 49 chaos, and that's only gonna decline. That's only gonna get lower as people get these. 10 fortification is a perfect roll at 4 divine. We have a 9 at 1.5. And one of the cool things about this is melee hits from strike skills fortify. So because I use this frenzy as my offside, like my offshoot, my secondary, I can actually crank this frenzy up a lot higher, or switch from volcanic fissure of snaking to a strike skill and get a bunch of strikes. And with this belt here, I'm going to be generating endurance charges for every strike. And with this amulet, 21% chance to lose endurance when you gain fortification. So if every hit gains fortification, then you're going to be losing 1 endurance charge for every 4 attacks. Every 5 attacks if you can get this to 20, but I'm at 21, so it's like every 4.2 attacks or 4.8 attacks, whatever it is, you're going to be losing an endurance charge. And you don't quite have enough for when you're using Call of Arms, you get 3 endurance charges per screen. So usually you can keep your endurance charges up during bossing, and you can keep your endurance charges up through mapping. However, if I get faster attack speed and, with the new gloves, a 40% increased attack speed, this may diminish my endurance charge stacks quicker than I can replenish them. So I might have to address that in some way. But I don't think that's going to be a problem, at least not anytime soon. So what I wanted to do to mitigate that problem was to get this mace corrupted, because this mace is also not expensive, and it's only a matter of time before the market is flooded with them, and the market will also be flooded with corrupted variants. Let's actually just take a look if there's any good corrupted variants. Get rid of the stats. Let's hit corrupted. Yes. And the corrupted variant I will be looking for is not attack speed, but it is going to be chance to gain fortification on hit. Right now there's only endurance charge when you stun an enemy, physical damage, endurance charge. So no one's really corrupting these and putting them on the market. So I might have to self-corrupt, which is a shoot me in the head experience. But it is what it is. But if I can get like a 10% chance to gain fortification on hit, that will be pretty spectacular and juicy. Now, after I get that, I'll probably be grabbing one of these, right? It's +3 to fortification and life regeneration on fortification. Or even this one, armor and evasion while fortify, and fortify hits against unique enemies grant 100% increased fortification. Depending on the amount of damage I do, I might need that increased fortification, because it is very hard to get fortify on bosses here. So one of these two will probably be selected. Now, I go down this way normally because I was intending to do Hollow Palm, but I skipped right on past Hollow Palm because I accidentally 6-linked this bad boy, and I 6-linked this before I even got around to preparing my Hollow Palm build. So Hollow Palm just got completely skipped. It was supposed to go Bringer of Rain, and then Hollow Palm Bringer of Rain, and then Hollow Palm Restless Ward, and then eventually dropping Hollow Palm for something else. But as it stood, this is just how it worked out. This is one of the great things about the Trickster. When you play the Trickster, you never know how it's going to go. You can literally find a piece of gear and completely switch out your build. Like, if you want to do a bow build, you can do a bow build. You want to do a poison build, you can do a poison build. You want to do an ignite build, you can do an ignite build. You can do any build you want because your damage is primarily universal. It is coming from your frenzy stacks. It is coming from your endurance stacks. That's where your damage is coming from, primarily. So you get that bad boy, and you can just kind of do whatever you want with it. Anyways, that is where my build is at. Where it's going, I don't exactly know, right? So I have +1 to frenzy charges on the shield here, which is really nice. But if I was using 2 Nebuloch, I would also have chaos resistance capped, reduced elemental damage, another 11%. So that'd be 22% reduced elemental damage taken from hits. And that would be an additional, what is that, 55 to 88 physical damage. Add that again. And then that's 1,000 armor per endurance charge. So that's going to be 22,000 armor if I had 2 of these bad boys. And that fire damage taken per second per endurance charge. If you've been hit recently, probably not that big of a deal because of the life regeneration. So this all just kind of synergizes well. It's just a little sad that the damage is a little low. And it's only a little low. It's not extra low. I can breeze through T16s, and let's go into the delve. I can breeze through the delve. I can breeze through it. When I say breeze through, I mean I'm going through it safely, and I'm not really worried about dying. Let's just grab a quick tier 3 right there, and I'm not really worried about dying. Not really worried about having any issues. Though there is a big problem with Soul Eater monsters. I think it's Soul Eater and Life Regen. So I have to figure out something with Life Regen. I think there's a skill, and I do have an open hole there. I think there is a skill that will reduce the amount of life regeneration the enemies have, and I need to put that on. Because I can run into some enemies that have too much life regeneration, and I can't kill them with my low damage. The damage is just not enough to get the job done. Oh, I gotta hit the button. To get the job done. Now I'm just gonna stand here and swing my mace and look at my defenses because they're glorious. And that's all I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna swing my mace. Why do you think I'm getting that regen? What's your guys' opinion? 3? Is it Heartstopper switching? What is that? Is that life regen kicking in? I don't understand why it pops up to 3,000 something. I don't get it. This is my first time using Trinity support. I'm pretty sure I'm using it right. I have no fucking clue how to use it right. I was told if you have 2 elements that are pretty similar to each other, like my fire and cold are almost fucking identical, which is cool as shit. That's very cool. 70,000 fire, 70,000 cold. I was told, and by told, I mean I watched a YouTube video and it said to use Trinity, just make sure one of your elements is hitting about the same as another element. And these like fill up. I also have a little bit of lightning damage. It's kind of crazy to look at my lightning damage. So 7,000 lightning damage, and the only lightning damage I have is on this ring. I have 6 to 69, and it's resulting in that much lightning damage. That is it. So if I take this off, you'll see the lightning damage is, oh, well, you can't see the skill. But the lightning damage is gone. That's it. That's the only lightning damage I get. And it's quite a bit. So I think a big failing on this build is I'm not getting a lot of flat damage sources. So if I could find a way to get more flat damage sources, like on these rings, I have fire damage to attacks here. I could probably tweak these out a little bit more so I get, well actually I can't really I need the strength and int there. That accuracy is nice. So I can't really tweak it out too much. These rings are all pretty good. They're not in-game. That 14 life is sad, but everything else on it is pretty great. At least for what I need at the moment. I am very satisfied with my build. I am very satisfied with my starter. I have hard found 9 divines. I've never found that many divines. Now, almost every divine I found has actually been from Abyss content. I don't know what the hell is up with Abyss, right? I'm not rocking anything ultra special with Abyss. I'm getting little experience from Abyss, right? I like to have a little bit of experience. I'll probably swing down here maybe. But I'm not really grabbing any spectacular Abyss stuff. I'm just grabbing... I don't even have most of the nodes. I don't have this node. I don't know what this node does. I'm just grabbing the ones that are in the way, that are on the way, right? On the way to this breach, you got this Abyss, you got this Abyss. It's very efficient the way I'm grabbing what I'm grabbing for Abyss anyways, right? I don't want to go out of my way for Abyss. Abyss is really nice to have in maps for the extra experience and the extra enemies while leveling up and while progressing. But for the most part, I don't run that much Abyss. However, I've been following the Abyss trails, and while following the Abyss trails, I can identify at least 3 divines that have dropped while I'm chasing down these Abyss veins. Chasing down the Abyss veins, killing the Abyss enemies, and I've gotten 3 divines guaranteed from that, and I've probably gotten more from that. So Abyss might be secretly really hot for loot. I don't know why it's really hot for loot, or it's just luck. But I have never got 9 divines on a weekend. And back when they were exalts instead of divines, I also never got 8 exalts just from mapping on a weekend. You can do strategies to try to pump up your currency outcome with like magic find and shit like that. But I don't have any magic find really. And you saw my pathing. It wasn't really designed for grabbing really excellent loot or anything like that. Let's hit this with the corruption. +1 to power charges. Let's go. +2 to socketed fire gems. I mean, maybe. Let's just put that in there. I'll deal with you later. Okay, that is it. Everything worked great. I started out this build doing... What was the first skill I was using? Oh, yeah. I started out with Cobra Lash. I was doing Cobra Lash. And then I found a really powerful bow while leveling. So then I switched to Frenzy Bows. And I was doing Frenzy Bows with a little bit of puncture in the splash. And then I got the Bringer of Rain. And almost immediately after I bought the Bringer of Rain for like 5 chaos, a Divine dropped, which then just opened up the build to whatever I wanted it to be. What did I get? With the Divine, I got this guy almost instantly. I got this guy. It was only like 5 Divines. So I picked up that. I got the gloves, I got the belt, I got the boots. I just picked up everything I needed, and I didn't go hollow palm, and now this is where I'm at. I don't know if I can do Maven with this, but I can do Shaper, I can do Elder, I can do all the Conqueror Guardians, the Poison guy. It just might be gimped at Maven, and a big part of that is the low damage and my low skill. You fight Maven long enough, you're gonna die. No matter who you are, you can't just constantly run the mechanics unless you go so defensive that you can just tank the memory game. But for me, if I don't have enough DPS, eventually Maven will get the 6 kills before I get the 1 kill. So the DPS might be a problem for Maven, but every other boss, I got Stone Cold in the bag. So in terms of a starter, this really has worked out well for me. Oh, I went to this guy first before I moved over to Nebuloch. This guy's also really good. 11 endurance charges, 10% increased physical damage per endurance charge. That's 110% increased physical damage on top of, you know, having a level 20 endurance charge on melee stun, which would be nice if I can get this guy 6-linked, but I don't have him 6-linked. I might switch back to this when I get him 6-linked, but the damage is a little bit low on this mace compared to other maces. I can get a rare one. At this point, I'm just building currency. So I'll be getting a rare item probably to replace this Nebuloch. Because if you look at the physical damage, it's just really low. Even if you would consider the 33% physical damage added as fire, the physical damage per endurance charge, the damage is still just really, really low. And I just replace this mace and my damage will shoot up. I'll lose a bunch of tankiness. So I'm going to need to fine tweak some of my gear. These rings, I can't have a 14 life ring, right? So I'll be switching out this ring for something to give me some chaos resistance. I still need the strength. Actually, if I get rid of the mace, I won't need the strength. This mace has a 212 strength requirement on it, which is what's making me get so much strength everywhere. and the armor has a pretty high int, 122 int, so I'm getting int for that in places like this shield I got really nice on the int. But fine tweak the gear a little bit, and then I can replace the Nebuloch and not lose that much tankiness. I might even gain a little bit because I'm not taking that fire damage per second, but I just got to do a little bit to tweak it and then get a really nice weapon. And I'll probably go one-hander because it's really nice to get the frenzy charge on the shield, but I might go two-hander because with Snaky I'm pretty safe in the distance, and I can just snake onto the ground, and then the snakes go where they go. They wreck it. Let's slam a snake and let's follow it. Oh. Yeah, so it looks like it's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's 4 hits. So let's actually... I said I was going to make this video quick, and here I am, taking forever. I never make my videos quick, because I like to fucking ramble. Alright, let's go to the tree. I'm 1 level away from grabbing this, so I'm just gonna grab it. Fight me, alright? Fight me. Alright, everything is selected. Let's go to configuration. Actually, let's go to skills first. Skills. Let's do the snaky. Put that on there. Full DPS. 62,000 without any configuration. So let's go to this. I am always on low life. That's surprisingly, it just lowered the DPS somehow. And then, anyways, I am always on low life. I use frenzy charges. I wonder what does more for damages, frenzy charges or endurance charges. Endurance charges do more for damage. Holy shit. I would not have guessed that. But that goes to show just how much value I'm getting from flat damage. And the fact that I don't have a lot of flat damage is diminishing my value. Right? So you do this frenzy charge, which is going to be 11 frenzy charges, which is 44% more physical damage. Or 44% more damage and 40% either more or increased attack speed. I can't remember. It's one or the other. Either way, it's should be way more than endurance charges. But with the Nebuloch, the endurance charges come out on top. I don't have life tap. I do have onslaught for the most part, which does almost nothing in terms of my added damage. Look at that. Does almost nothing. Okay, none of that. I am fortified most of the time. I am not Tailwind. I don't have that. I could be elusive if I wanted to throw that on there, which gives me a little more effective hit pool for the evasion, but I'll just leave that off. I could be on consecrated ground, but I am not. I am not shield. I have... It doesn't really matter, right? The hit just gives me some recovery or something. That... And we'll do an average on Heartstopper. Wither, none. They are not intimidated. I don't have intimidation, but it would be nice if I did. Lowest resistance. Let's just pump this up to like 10. I don't know what happens if I go to 100. I don't really know what to do with this. It looks like it has diminishing returns at 10, 15, 20. What is 50? Whatever it is, I probably have the highest, right? And let us set this to... There it is. Let's do Guardian Pinnacle. Alright, I said between 400,000 and 800,000 was my guess on the damage. And this is what it's looking like, just as is. But I do believe that I have to pump up this to 4. It hits the ground 4 times, right? So that's going to put it... Now it's saying 1 million. If we're going 3, I don't know if it's 3 or 4. So it is look like it's hitting 1 million, right? Maybe it's 1 million. I am not sure. It feels between... To me, it feels between 400 and 800,000 DPS. It doesn't quite feel like 1 million. So maybe it's not that. But one of the cool things that it does have is some pretty good burst damage, right? You slam in the ground with a bunch of snaky, and then the boss comes up, and it instantly hits it with 3 shockwaves right at the beginning. 3 or 4. How many does it build up? I think it builds up 3 stacks. builds up 4 stacks of shockwave. So right when the boss comes up, it gets hit with a 4 blast of shockwave, which is actually really nice because you hit him with that 4 blast of shockwave, and then you're getting him pretty close to being at low life, which is when you hit him with the punishment curse. So once they get to low life, then you hit them with punishment curse. It's not quite as bad. So that is the build I'm rocking, and I might as well do a share of this and put it in the video. I'll do that later. That is the video. Hope you enjoyed. I had a blast with the league, and I am really enjoying this build. The movement speed you get from your Dark Gray Vectors and your Restless Wargs, you get 4% movement speed per Frenzy Charge. So this is 44% increased movement speed. This is 55% increased movement speed. And there's actually a bow out there that I think does another 4% increased movement speed for Frenzy Charge. So if I wanted to put that bow on, I'd be zipping around this map so damn quickly. But as it stands, that is about the peak. This is about the peak at which I can run before I start to get motion sickness. For this game, if I get too fast the movement speed, I will slowly start to get motion sickness, which sucks because there's a lot of builds like Flicker Strike that I really love to play, but I just can't do it because I start to get sick. But with this amount of speed, this is right. I can go maybe a hair faster. One more Frenzy Charge faster, and that's about as fast as I can go before I'm getting motion sickness, right? This is where I like to be in terms of speed. So for me, this is a perfect chill speed, and it's a one-click playstyle. You just run around. You don't even have to aim anything. You just hit the ground with your mace. These fucking snakies go out. They blow shit up. You don't have to do no thanking. You don't have to do no gameplay. You don't have to worry about what the game's trying to do. You just, you just hit your latency. You just hit your emergency instant disconnect latency. This has also been a huge reason why I only streamed one day, because my latency is so bad. I'm not even connected to the internet right now. I run this fast.com on a looper of 8 seconds just so I know when my internet is about to disconnect. I've been calling these sons of bitches at Cox for a month trying to get someone out here to take a look at why the fuck my internet just disconnects. And so far, nothing. So internet connection's been dog shit for this league. Like if I try to log in, there's nothing I can do. My internet will just completely turn off for a minute or so at a time. And considering I work from home, not even in the state where my corporation is, internet's pretty damn important. I might have to move out of this house if they don't fix my internet. I just signed a new lease for this place. It's like $2,800 a month, and I might have to just straight up break the lease and get a new place, because that's how important internet is for someone who works from home and whose primary hobby is being online looking at pornographic material. I mean, playing Path of X. Video over.